just want to know how to play either one of them. Regardless, you are welcome. And if you know people that may be interested, you can share the link with them so they can join. We're going to start with the role of Table Topics Master. For my sake, is there anyone that might be playing the role of Table Topics Master anytime soon? Just put it in the chat. Let me see as I go through. I'm just curious to see if there's anyone in the room. For me, Table Topics, the most exciting part of every Toastmasters meeting. That's just my preference. I love Table Topics. And to have an exciting Table Topics portion, the Table Topics Master needs to be well prepared. Good. I see that Toastmaster Lazarus is actually going to play or wants to play this role. Fantastic. Toastmaster Lazarus, I support 100%. What do you do as the Table Topics Master? As the Table Topics Master, it's important that you prepare in advance for that role. This is one of the few roles where you can be very creative when it comes to playing roles. What are things you need to do? I'll break this down into two parts: before the meeting and during the meeting. Before the meeting, what should you do? Reach out either to the Toastmaster of the day, the Vice President Education, whoever is responsible for the agenda. Find out what the theme of the meeting is for that day. If you can get your hands on a copy of the agenda, beautiful. Why? It'll be good that you get topics that align with the theme of the day so that the entire meeting is more cohesive. On average, maybe you get 5 to 10 topics, anywhere in that range, because if you have maybe 10 minutes, you can get maximum 3 speakers. If you have 20 minutes, you can probably take 6 speakers, perhaps. And some of you may be wondering, how am I doing my math? Table topics, 1 to 2 minutes. If people are going to speak to 2 minutes, after they've spoken, you need to account for transition time. Every time you have a speaker, if you allow for about 1 minute for transition, on average, each person that is speaking, you say maybe you have 3 minutes for them. You account for your introduction and your conclusion. You just don't say, I have 20 minutes divided by 2. That's not how it works. You need to plan accordingly. But as the Table Topics Master, please have way more topics than is necessary, which is why I'm saying have anywhere from 5 to 10. If you have more time, go towards the 10 end rather than the 5 end, just in case some speakers don't show up and the Toastmaster of the day says during the meeting, we can take more speakers. That's not the time for you to be confused and wondering, what other topic can I get? No, you come well prepared by having a lot of topics that align with the theme of the meeting. As I said, it makes it more cohesive. What types of topics should you choose? Please let your topics be clear, meaning easy to understand, and concise, short. These two are very important. I don't think it should take you more than about 15 seconds to ask a question. Why am I saying this? If you have to explain a backstory to your questions before you now ask the question, the speaker can get confused. Make it as concise as possible, and don't make it so niche, so unique that very few people can answer it. You don't want to ask a question, and by the time you're done, the people answering the question feel stupid. Please think of questions that the general public, your estimation, can probably answer. Clear and concise. I think you should go by those two rules when you're setting up questions for table topics. You can be as creative as you want. Come with objects if you want to use objects. You can use colors. You can use PowerPoint. There are so many things you can do. Spend time planning for it. And by the time you execute, it's going to leave a deep impact, not only on the people that speak, but on everyone else that attended the meeting. All this happened before the meeting. Know how much time you have, so you know how many questions you should ask and how many extras you should get. Once you're playing a role, it's an opportunity to improve your public speaking skills, which means as the table topics master, briefly have an explanation of your role at the beginning. It's extremely important if you happen to have guests. See how much time you have allotted, briefly explain it. I don't think you should take up to 2 minutes max to explain your role. What do you do? This is a segment where you get to ask questions and people get to speak on these questions without knowing about them ahead of time. They are impromptu questions. Speak for a minimum of 1 minute, maximum of 2 minutes. I usually recommend that you confirm if you have guests. If you do, stress the fact that they should speak for a minimum of 1 minute. Show them where the timer is so they know where to look for the signals, or if it's in the virtual space, remind them that the timer is either going to change their background or share the timing cards, depending on what the timer explained earlier, if you have guests. If you have members, they're familiar with this, you don't need to waste time explaining that. Prepare this in advance. What else do you do? Please show up early. Very important. Anyone that wants to play the role of table topics master, show up early to the meeting. Why is this important? When you call guests to speak, they don't have to agree to speak. Every guest is permitted to say no. I have been to too many meetings where the table topics master calls up a guest who says no, and the whole room keeps applauding the guest who stays there until it feels extremely awkward. They stop and they move on to someone else. You don't want to make the guests feel like they don't have a say in speaking or not speaking. If I were someone in that position, I may not want to come back to the meeting. Come early. If you want guests to participate, as the table topics master, take time to start speaking to them one-on-one and selling table topics. Don't tell them it is scary. Don't tell them that it's not something you would want to do. No. Explain the benefits. Explain how it helps them think quickly on their feet, how it will be supported by everyone in the room. You just want them to speak. They don't even have to speak on topic, really. It's a fun segment. Some persuasion, and then get their names in advance. For the Toastmasters you want to call, I recommend not calling people already giving speeches or playing roles. Call from other Toastmasters. And for those of you that feel inclined to call on only guests, I recommend not doing that. Because when you call Toastmasters for table topics, they get to build their capacity to speak without knowing the topic in advance, which is more relevant for real life than for prepared speeches that happen sparingly. Why are we going to save something as useful as table topics just for guests, not for people that have paid? If you're playing the role of table topics master, I recommend mixing members as well as guests during that segment. Please also, if you can, start with a Toastmaster. Why? Because they can show the guest how it should be done, and then you can mix guests and members alike. Show up early, get names of guests that are willing to speak. Ideally, all Toastmasters should be willing. It doesn't always happen, but ideally, they know I can call on any of you. This happens early. Then during your segment, when the Toastmaster of the day introduces you, come, you explain what you've prepared in advance, letting people know what table topics is. Then you go ahead and now call up speakers, hopefully starting with the Toastmaster. Now, once each speaker is done, please pay attention while they're speaking. Once they're done, you can just quickly reference something they said. You can reference it in a humorous way to encourage them, let them know you're paying attention, you appreciate what they did. It connects more with the audience, and then you move to the next speaker. and you continue that way until you are done. Once the segment is concluded, you'll deliver your concluding speech before handing back control to the Toastmaster of the day. And once you do that, your job as the Toast, or rather Table Topics Master, done. That is all you do as the Table Topics Master in every meeting. That's a brief summary. Does anyone have a question or a comment regarding the role of Table Topics Master? Please go ahead, Toastmaster Kudus.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster John, for always coming here and enriching us. So I'm happy that you addressed it, but I just want to also mention the habit of saying table topics is for guests. I don't know if that is why it's created, but it's something that's always concerned me because at times we some Toastmasters they've never they've never done the table topics before. And also another thing that I've also noticed is that people when they call out Toastmasters to be the first person, there are too many expectations from that Toastmasters. You just believe that he's supposed to be good at it. And it's even possible that they've never called that person because of the habit of teaching table topics for guests. Whereas those matters paid money to be there, guests are just there to come and participate with us. So I think that those expectations we have to reduce it. Because I'm a Toastmaster does not mean I have to come to the table topics and I have to do well. And again, saying try to take more guests. I don't see why. I think Toastmasters should be the one doing table topics more because they are the ones that actually fit to get better. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for those comments, Toastmaster Kudus. I agree. Yes, somewhere along the lines, I don't know why it happened. We started saying table topics is for guests in many clubs. It ought not to be so. Those that paid to learn and grow, they should enjoy the benefits of table topics. And yes, I concur. Sometimes when they say, let me call a Toastmaster first, there's this expectation that you should be good at it, and you may not be good at it. If you're the one that is called, please don't feel that pressure of having to be perfect or nearly perfect. Go ahead and speak. You're a Toastmaster. You just know how it should be done. Minimum 1 minute, maximum 2 minutes. I don't know that we can control the pressure from others, but for you, don't put too much pressure on yourself. Go out there to learn, to grow, to make mistakes. In fact, I highly recommend that if you're not giving a prepared speech or playing a role, that you volunteer. Volunteer to participate in table topics. You learn many skills when you're doing it. Please, it's something that you should encourage yourself to do. You only control what you do, you don't control what others do. Thank you so much for that, Toastmaster Kudus. Any other questions or comments? If you happen to have further questions later on, maybe it just comes to mind at that point, feel free to either type the message in the chat or raise your hand at the end when we're done and you can ask your question. For lack of a question now, we're going to proceed and segue to the second and final role for tonight, the role of our counter. Our counter is an interesting role because in my own estimation, many times the person playing our counter has a challenging job of having to count the number of pause fillers they also use. And I'll break the role of our counter into two parts. Before the meeting, during the meeting. Before the meeting, what should you do? Everyone playing a role, you have the opportunity to improve your public speaking. Please prepare a speech explaining what your role is. Get a copy of the agenda. If it's not prepared in advance, ask either the Toastmaster of the day or the vice president education, whoever is in charge. How much time do I have to explain my role? Or perhaps the general evaluator who leads your team. And then prepare your speech explaining what you do. As the accountant, what do you do? As the accountant, you pay attention to everything that is said from the start of the meeting to the end of the meeting. Why? Because you want to be able to catch people's use of pause fillers. What are pause fillers? Pause fillers could be sounds such as eh, ah. They can be words, so, like, and. I'm giving you some of the common words people use as pause fillers, or they could be phrases. You know is one of the common phrase people use as pause fillers that people use in their speech that detract from the quality of the speech. By paying attention to people speaking, capturing their use of pause fillers, and coming back to let them know how many times they use pause fillers, you are trying to empower them to be more eloquent and articulate when they speak. You will also offer tips on how they can improve. And by improve, you mean minimize or eliminate their use of pause fillers. For most people, you're going to minimize. Not everyone is going to be able to eliminate. Most of us, you still have some type of pause filler when you speak, which is fine. You just don't want your speech inundated with pause fillers. Prepare that brief speech at the beginning, explaining your role as the accountant. This before the meeting. What else should you do? Please show up early. If you're giving a speech or you're playing a role, don't show up on time. Show up early. It does multiple things. One, it lets you actually settle into the room, get more comfortable and prepared to deliver to the best of your ability the role you have chosen to deliver. Two, it helps the general evaluator, the Toastmaster of the day, know that you are present and ready. If you are not there, it's their responsibility to find someone else to take up your role. It will not be good that you're showing up, but somebody else has already been chosen. In fact, they have prepared in the short time they had because you didn't show up a bit earlier. Show up early. I highly recommend that you please start doing your job from the start of the meeting. Why? Because I want you to be able to give feedback to everyone that speaks at the meeting. Your role, if you don't start at the beginning, is not critical in the same way the role of the timer is, where if they don't start at the beginning, a lot of time can be wasted just in the introductory part before they are called up. For you, the people speaking before you are introduced, they may not get the feedback in terms of how often they use pause fillers and specifically the pause fillers they use, which for some of them may be important. If you can, I recommend please start from the beginning of the meeting. What should you do? Note the names of the people, the pause fillers they use, and how many times they use each pause filler. Toastmasters International has a template with a number of pause fillers listed. You can print it up, create your own from that, and use that as a way of tracking and ticking how many times each person that speaks used any of those pause fillers. And if somebody introduces a new one, you can add it to the list and also use that to track it. It makes it a lot easier. What else should you be doing as the accountant? Please note, because there are certain sounds, words, and phrases that are typical for pause fillers. Some people that play the role Once they hear those sound words or phrases, they automatically count them as pause fillers. That is not right. These sounds, words, or phrases can be used the right way. When they are used appropriately, please do not mark them as pause fillers. That means you need to be competent enough to distinguish between the appropriate use of the sound, words, or phrases and the inappropriate use of the sound, words, or phrases. And yes, it takes diligence in listening and it takes growing to understand it. Many people are not aware of this, and it does a disservice to the speaker. Please, if you're playing the role of accountant, take note of that. When you introduce your role and explain it at the beginning, you are not going to come up to speak again until the very end, when the general evaluator is anchoring the evaluation portion and calling their team members. You'll be called up. When you're called up to deliver your report, please, I highly recommend that you just don't come up to the lectern or turn on your camera if it's in the virtual space and just state names, the pause fillers, and how many times they use those pause fillers. Note my recommendation. Why? You are speaking before an audience. I believe it's yet another opportunity to improve your public speaking. What does that mean? It means deliver your report as a speech. Introduction, the body, which is the report, and a conclusion. Introduction can be any form of introduction, appreciating the audience for making your job easy, or explaining why you needed to be there today because people have used so many pause fillers, or to use a quote, any short introduction. Then you dive into the body. I love to say, mention people's names. Unless you know for whatever reason, maybe based on experience, that certain people don't like when you mention their name from the stage. That's different. But because not all of us are aware of our use of pause fillers, when you mention somebody used "eh" 5 times, someone else used "so" 10 times, I may have been the person that used "eh" 5 times. I may have been the person that used "so" 10 times, but I was not aware enough to take note of those things. If you don't mention my name, it would not change anything. It will not prompt me to want to leave this meeting and go and improve. Please, Toastmaster Fatima, do you mind muting your device? Thank you so much. It will not prompt me to want to go back and improve my use of pause fillers, meaning minimize or eliminate my use of pause fillers. This is why I usually recommend mention the names of the speakers, mention the pause fillers they used, and how often they used them. This way, when I hear my name, Toastmaster John, and you reel out the pause fillers I used and how often I use them, then I'm aware enough to say, wow, I didn't know that. Okay, I'll work on this. And for many of our clubs, we have a champion that we award for the pause filler champion, the person that used pause fillers the most. I think it would be good that you explain what this means. I like to believe that we give a pause filler champion that award because this is the person that probably has the highest chance of improvement. If you use pause fillers so much, with a bit of focused work, you can actually minimize it the most. This is the person that has that opportunity to grow a lot. If you can explain briefly, I think it would be good. Not many of us understand why we, in a way, seem to celebrate someone that uses pause fillers a lot. We're not celebrating them. While noting that this person used a lot of pause fillers, it also means they have the opportunity to grow quite a bit. bringing it to their awareness and giving them feedback on how to improve. What else should you state in your reports? If time permits, give recommendations on how you can minimize or eliminate your use of pause fillers. What are some of these recommendations? Pause. Just pause. Let silence do its job. A number of us use pause fillers, especially the sounds, when we ought to pause. Learn to just be quiet. What else can you do? Rather than wait for Toastmasters meeting, which most of us have twice a month, why not practice minimizing your use of pause fillers every single day? Repetition is what leads us to mastery. If we're practicing it every day, we accelerate our growth. That's another wonderful recommendation. And there are a number of others, if time permits, that you can share with the audience as you give the report on people and their use of pause fillers. Then you have your conclusion, hand back control to the general evaluator, and your job as the accountant is done. In summary, that's what you do when you play the role of accountant. However, if the people speaking after you want feedback on their use of counters or pause fillers, excuse me, go ahead and continue tracking it. Otherwise, you don't have to. Your job is officially done when you give your reports. Does anyone have a question or comment regarding the role of accountant? You can raise your hand or you can send a message in the chat and we'll attend to it if it's a question or just learn from it if it's a comment. Is there anyone? I don't see any hands and I don't see any messages, which leads me to believe that we're okay, at least for now, when it comes to the role of accountant. If anyone has any questions or comments for the role of Table Topics Master as well, feel free at this moment to also raise your hand or to send a message in the chat, and we'll love to attend to the question or just learn from the comments. Is there anyone? Great. Don't see. Okay, I see a hand. Toastmaster Fatima, please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir, for the wonderful presentation. We really appreciate your time. Please, I'm actually new, so I've just attended the meeting twice. For the counter, is it only for the prepared speech or even table topics we are supposed to monitor the filler words they are using? Thank you.
Thank you so much for your question, Toastmaster Fatima. Personally, I say every single speaker, prepared speech, table topics, and all roles. Monitor all of them. If you don't feel you can pay attention to that extent, bare minimum, I would say prepared speech and table topics. But if you can pay attention to everyone, go ahead and give feedback for everyone. Does that help, Toastmaster Fatima?
Yes, thank you very much.
You are very much welcome. Are you part of the role players group? WhatsApp
No.
group? Okay.
No, I'm not.
You got my number, correct?
Hello, it's breaking. Yes, I didn't really hear you.
Okay, did you get my number when I dropped it earlier?
Yes, I got it. Okay. I've chatted you already.
Oh, great. I'll add you to the group. Thank you for your question.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Toastmaster, you're welcome. Toastmaster Rakia, go ahead, please.
Good evening, Toastmaster John.
Good evening.
I truly appreciate your classes and I've become a regular. So my question is, I'm just pondering, when you said the person with the most use of pause fillers should be celebrated, did I get that right?
Thank you so much for that question. Before I answer it, it's already 9:30. I would like to ask that we officially stop the recording and that we are officially done for today. This session is from 9 to 9:30. I like to be a man of my word. Those who want to leave, please feel free to leave. No one be offended. Officially, we are done. Nonetheless, we are going to stay back and still attend to people that have questions, comments, and people that want to go to other roles. Yes, Toastmaster Rakia. Some clubs, they have a celebration of sorts where they call the R champion, the person that used pause fillers the most. However, the R counter doesn't always explain why we have that. And I recommend that the R counter explains the reason we're noting the person that used pause fillers the most is because they have the highest chance to grow. If this is an area of weakness for you compared to others, then most likely means you can improve quite a bit compared to others. Does that make sense to you, Toastmaster Rakia? Or do you want me to expand some more on it?
Please kindly expand some more. I feel, or maybe I don't really understand what the pause filler is. I thought it's supposed to be a negative thing, like somebody that uses or something more.
Yes.
Should be
Which is
celebrated.
which is why I'm saying the R counter needs to explain what that means.
Okay.
You shouldn't just say the pause filler champion is, because the person may not understand why they are crowning them as pause filler champion. If you use it the most, then you have the highest chance of improving, meaning you are the one that can reduce it quickly since you've used so much. If somebody used 50 pause fillers, I believe if that person is intentional, they can get it down to 25, get it down to 20, versus someone that uses only 5. It may not be very easy to get 5 down to 2 when they are speaking. Do you want more clarity on that, Toastmaster Rakia?
Yes, please. Yes, please. Yes.
So it's the R counter that needs to explain for clubs that do it. Not all clubs do it. What club are you a part of?
Buka Toastmaster. We are just 6 months old, actually.
Okay, now, even though you're just 6 months old, I'm assuming you don't do it. It's not an issue for your club. For clubs that do it, I think the R counter should explain what they are doing and what it signifies. So the person that is crowned the pause filler champion knows they can improve a lot by minimizing their use of pause fillers. Does that take you closer to understanding?
My president is also in this meeting, so maybe she can ask a question or two. But then how do we know if he has reduced unless he speaks next time and then we take note of that, right?
Toastmaster Rakia, that's not in your hands.
Okay.
When you give feedback to speakers, you don't know if they are going to utilize it unless you're there when they speak the next time.
Yes.
Yours is just to give feedback in the moment, hoping that the person you're giving feedback to will take it, utilize it, and come back as a better speaker. You can't control that aspect.
Definitely, yes. Okay,
and Toastmaster Jamila says, I think it's sarcasm.
She's my president.
Madam President has spoken. She believes it's sarcasm.
Exactly. Something like that should be celebrated, actually.
The accountant should explain for those clubs that do such a thing. It should be clarified, especially for people that are not familiar with it. Thank you for asking about that.
Okay, thank you too for the response.
Welcome. Let's see, something has dropped. Is this a question? Okay. Please, what of the word? And I do have issue with this word. Some use it many times during speech. Can we also count that too? And you may, okay, what of the word and? Toastmaster Oluwafemi, it depends on the usage. By the way, not just and, any word that is popularly known to be a pause filler. So, and, like, I'm not sure which other words they use as pause fillers typically. If every sentence the person says, they say and today I woke up late and I went to the kitchen, that second and is actually proper. The first and was wrong, that's a pause filler. And today I woke up, starting the sentence, no need for it. If they use it for every single sentence, you now need to have the awareness and the competence to note when was and used appropriately. Count those ones as pause fillers. Or sorry, appropriately, you don't count those ones. When was it used inappropriately, you count those ones as pause fillers. Regardless of the word that someone uses repeatedly, consistently as a crutch, pay attention to if it's used in the proper context or an improper context, and take note of the improper usage. Does that help? Does that help you, Toastmaster Oluwafemi? Fantastic. Okay, let's see what's after that. Thank you for the feedback, Toastmaster Jamila. You get, yes, some people use you get. You are welcome. For our counter, you need to grow to the point where you listen intently and you distinguish, very important, proper use of sound, words, phrases, improper use of sound, words, phrases, and you note the improper usage. That is what you're trying to capture. That is what you're trying to highlight for the speaker, so they are aware enough and they start minimizing the improper usage, but they can keep the proper usage of the sound, the word, or the phrases. Any other questions or comments? And if you don't have questions or comments for Table Topics Master or our counter, if you have for something else, by all means, you can bring that up here as well, and we can attend to it to the best of our ability. You can raise your hand or send a message to the chat like some people have been doing. I don't see any hands up, and I don't see any messages in the chat. Thank you once again for joining, everyone. Toastmaster Lazarus, please go ahead.
Good evening, Toastmaster John. Thank you for this session. My question is regarding preparing a speech. Right, so I've already delivered my icebreaker and I'm working on